Even AI shareholders were wondering why Bob Iger and the Walt Disney Company dragged their feet in responding to Epic Universe. Or is Epic Universe actually a response to Disney? Let's talk about the debate and who is coming out to fight it on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place. Here with me is the guy that I go to for all of my theme park questions, Mr. Vash Sky. Hey, Vash, I just wanted to know, how much do the haircuts cost at the Main Street Barbershop?
Ooh, I think, man, they run pretty high now. I think it's like $15-$20 and up, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe that's not so bad in this economy. Oh man, let's talk about this article because I'm very much looking forward to getting your opinion on it. Blog Mickey, Disney Epic Universe is Universal playing catch up on a decade of nonstop development at Walt Disney World. Shots fired here by Mike from Blog Mickey. In a Wall Street Journal article this morning, Wall Street Journal examines what many theme park fans have been talking about for some time now, Epic Universe's impact on Walt Disney World. Here at blogmickey.com, we're dipping our toes in covering Universal due to the unavoidable nature of a new theme park in Central Florida. As an aside, I've been a Universal annual pass holder for some time now and enjoy the parks from a mostly non-blogging perspective. For now, if you'd like to see more Universal coverage from us beyond Epic Universe, just let me know in the comments below on social media. Even the statement that they're going to have to cover Universal more is pretty telling, in my opinion. Wouldn't you say, Vash?
Oh, very, very telling. Yes. There's a "what have you done for me lately" kind of thing going on here in this article that we'll get to in a moment. But there's going to be a lot lately, at least coming up in the very, very near future.
Right, and I'll point out over here on the Wall Street Journal, he's referencing this article, "A Threat in Disney's Backyard." As you can see, it's 4 people with mouse ears looking up at Poe, a Minion, Super Mario, Harry Potter, and look over here, E.T. E.T. is still hanging around. That's great. I like that guy.
E.T.
All right, so let's go back and look at a very specific part of this. While we're looking for Disney's answer to Epic Universe, a Disney spokesperson told the Wall Street Journal that Epic Universe is Universal playing catch up on a decade of nonstop development at Walt Disney World. That nonstop, I would disagree with that one. There has been some development at Disney World over the last 10 years or so. So they're saying, in short, it's not Disney that needs to answer to Epic Universe, but rather Epic Universe is Universal's answer to Disney World. There was an interesting list here that I just wanted to point out here. Of course, Universal Orlando hasn't been sitting on their hands during that time, but Disney's expansion has been very impressive over the last decade. Since 2014, here's a list of the major attractions and experience that Walt Disney World and Universal Studios have opened. So this is just Disney World. This is not Disneyland. But Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, that's an e-ticket attraction. No question there. Great one.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I mean, that was a long time ago. That was actually when Jay Rasulo was still with the company, and at least with that expansion that encompassed that attraction right there was on the ground floor of that thing before Tom Staggs took it over and then ushered in Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. A lot of people said a little bit too short, but I do agree with you. It's been a boon for Magic Kingdom specifically.
Then on to Pandora, the World of Avatar. This, of course, being Joe Rohde put this one together. This is one where I actually question why in the world Disney did this one. So this is the moment where I would say Disney is at all of its strength doing something that I don't even see why they would be investing in someone else's IP, but it's fantastic. The land, I have never heard a person say a bad thing about Pandora. It's an entire land that's immersive. It's amazing. It changes at night, and it has 2 great rides that people still rave about to these days when they are fully repaired and fully maintained. Vash, have you been on Avatar Flight of Passage or the Na'vi River Journey?
Absolutely, I have. Yes, Flight of Passage is just incredible. Now, there are some issues plaguing that attraction. Interestingly enough, in the recent era, we talked about how the lenses are getting fogged up there by those custom 3D glasses there. Na'vi River Journey, it's okay. That blast animatronic is stunning, but again, that's if you can catch it in A mode, because we know that there is a B mode there. Pandora is absolutely incredible, and I can't wait for a version of it to come to Disneyland Resort eventually. Right here, we'll see on what kind of quality scale we can set these to when that actually opens up. But yeah, a stunning addition to Disney's Animal Kingdom. And yeah, there was one that was very questioned, very much questioned at the time, going like, hey, do we necessarily want to bring in an outside IP like this? Well, in this case, absolutely you do.
Now that we're done talking about Pandora and Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, things that were good on their own, let's talk about what's been going on at Disney since then, because I think there's a clear line of demarcation about what is going on between this park and the Universal Studios parks across the way here. At this point, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, is that something that Disney did on their own and said, you know what, we need a Star Wars land, and we're going to make this thing, and it's going to be, we're going to have our own ideas? Could it be just maybe that Disney was deciding to respond to Harry Potter over at Diagon Alley and, of course, Hogsmeade at Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios Florida at the same time? Vash, can you give us some context here on the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge situation?
Yes, I would argue that both Pandora and Star Wars Galaxy's Edge were what they called at the time Potter Swatters, which was a very interesting use of the terminology. But that's why they went to James Cameron to try to develop Pandora, because they didn't have their own franchise by which they could leverage in a way that the former owners of NBC Universal did with Harry Potter. Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, yeah, they went in, 2 feet first on that franchise because they were looking for something to compete very successfully against Harry Potter. And honestly, the track record, the jury's still out on both these big, huge additions right here. Unfortunately, now Pandora is widely regarded as the superior of these two. However, when you look at the success of Harry Potter and how they've been able to leverage that in not one but 2 different versions, now upcoming 3 different versions of that IP right there. We talked about butterbeer sales and how they're on pace to generate over $250 million in revenue ever since the first incarnation of this amazing land opened in 2010. It's just phenomenal. And yeah, these are responses to them, and it hasn't gone so well.
So then it's Hogsmeade, Pandora, and then Diagon Alley at Universal Studios, which, by the way, there's a pretty good argument to be made that Diagon Alley is the reason that people go to the Universal Studios park in Florida, that they would not be able to sell nearly as many tickets. And we'll talk about that in just a moment on just how much money Hogsmeade and Diagon Alley together make specifically there with the Hogwarts Express attraction. So we have Galaxy's Edge, which is an essential. There are so many things in Galaxy's Edge that look like a mirroring of what's going on over in the Harry Potter lands here. We have blue milk because they're, and it's not just it's milk that's blue. It's like a frosty beverage, and they've got the green one. By the way, we happen to come up with a green one in that last in the Last Jedi. They have lightsabers, and the lightsaber experience, the lightsabers are more expensive, but that means people don't buy them as much. There's some data pad things in the park, but I don't think that really widely appeals to a lot of parents to hand a data pad, as otherwise known as your iPhone, to your kid and try to have them go around the park doing these things. You have Rise of the Resistance, which is a big attraction, but it's also down most of the time. It also, when I was there, it was a lottery on whether or not you got into it, it was Disney trying to avoid having lines. But what it really felt like was Disney not letting me go to the ride that I wanted to go on. And of course, Smuggler's Run, which is essentially a video game, and not a great video game at that. It's a video game where it's one controller split across 6 people. It's not a robust land. It's essentially an open air market. And I don't know how much merch they're moving, but I can tell you one thing. They move a lot of merchandise at the Harry Potter stuff.
Oh,
the land itself is the attraction at Harry Potter. Okay. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Slytherin, and Ravenclaw. People are going and they're selecting which house they're in, and they're buying all kinds of merchandise. $60 for one of those interactive wands, or you can get the cheap ones. And by the way, people are going all around those lands, swishing those wands all over the place, not counting the butterbeer sales, not counting the rides. It's better. It's more fun. And it's themed to movies that people actually want to watch on a regular basis. There's no comparison to me between these two lands.
I would agree with you. I mean, it's Harry Potter has done unbelievably well. It's why they're doing a 3rd incarnation of this thing with the Ministry of Magic, which, by the way, those vehicles, I don't know if anybody saw that on Twitter. Oh, my goodness. As big as my kitchen, at least in terms of the box that these things come in. Unbelievably huge, ginormous. There's a lot of enthusiasm for this franchise, even still today. It's a runaway success. It's partly why Comcast has really doubled down on the theme park businesses, because of just how successful that franchise was. It changed the entire industry. And honestly, Disney has been trying to play catch up to that idea. Remember, they used to have very generic lands that used to encompass multiple IP or themes. A lot of people wish that we could go back to those days, but in a post Harry Potter world, a lot of them became worlds, as we discovered in Disney Adventure World, for example, or these themed experiences encompassing just one IP.
Which here we are at Toy Story Land, a land which again has 2 rides. One of them, Slinky Dog Dash, is an e-ticket. It's a roller coaster, but at the same time, Alien Swirling Saucers. It's kind of like the teacups, but they're dragging the teacup behind the teacup. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It eats people up from the rest of the park for a little while. Toy Story Mania, though, is the focus of Toy Story Land, and that's the attraction that people are actually there for. There's nothing really wrong with Toy Story Land, but it's not something that you specifically go to the park for, I would think.
Yeah, it's you're not booking vacation packages for alien swirling saucers. Now, Slinky Dog Dash does have its demand for sure, but when people think of Disney's Hollywood Studios, they think more Rise of Resistance, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Tower of Terror. So that's kind of where these things lie for sure.
Rounding out the end of this list here, we have Frozen Ever After, which is good. They destroyed a ride in order to put in Frozen Ever After. They had Maelstrom, which was an Epcot classic, one of the few quote-unquote thrill rides at Epcot at the time. For the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration. That is, I hope it's air conditioned when I go into that attraction. That's more concern to me than actually seeing the attraction. My kids liked it when they went to go see it, but that really doesn't belong on this list. Honestly, Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. I don't disagree with anyone here. This is a fantastic attraction. Every review I've seen has been fantastic. Other than people that, are a little iffy about the spinning mechanic, they have some problems there, but I think everybody likes Cosmic Rewind. There's no real problems with it. Vash?
Everybody, I think, really does enjoy Cosmic Rewind. I will agree with that assessment right there. It is one of the best roller coasters in the Orlando area, as just a person who's gone on many of them in that surrounding area right there. It was just very, very expensive, and obviously did change the sightline in Epcot quite considerably. And that's what a lot of people believe. It's the right attraction, just wrong park. And I think there's some truth to that assessment right there.
That's the new strategy at the Walt Disney Company right now, is just attractions wherever we can throw them, because the idea of these parks having an individual identity, that's going by the wayside. I think Animal Kingdom might hold on to it for the longest, although Hollywood Studios, anything that's on film or television being the theme of Hollywood Studios, that will probably fit the longest. But Disney's Animal Kingdom, I think they have the most restraint they could possibly have in that park in particular.
Yes, that's very true. Speaking of slapping any attractions where they can go, is Ratatouille missing from this list?
Yeah, I don't know. It's at Epcot, but didn't make this list. I wonder why it didn't make this list. Whether or not it was just it was forgotten about, or whether or not this author does not consider it a big attraction. Again, I'm not trying to give the author that hard of a time. I'm just trying to talk about the general argument here. Happily Ever After. That's a evening fireworks show. I hate to say, most people don't know the difference between one fireworks show or another. I say this as a person who really likes Disney evening spectaculars, nighttime spectaculars at the Walt Disney World. Journey of Water, inspired by Moana. This is not an e-ticket attraction. This is a mostly broken water splash pad that is not really a splash pad that you walk through, that happens to have Moana's name attached to it. Journey of Water, IBM, right there. Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. When Vash and I were talking about this one, I actually got confused in what this attraction was. I thought this had been replaced with the Disney Junior Dance Party, but apparently this is a completely different attraction. That is, Vash, is this the one that is on the other side of Rock and Roller Coaster?
Yes, it's on the other side of Rock and Roller Coaster, kind of nestled between Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, roughly right there. It's where you sit in kind of a it's just bench seating, and there's a stage, and Lightning McQueen comes up for a little bit and he comes right back down. That's the the part of Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy right there. That is most profound, I would say. But to even include it on this list, we're stretching just a little bit here, Jonas. I'm not gonna lie, we're stretching.
Yeah, so Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, that has there have been 2 of them built in 2 different parks. It's an okay attraction. It is also broken down quite a bit. So if this is their response to Epic Universe and in the Harry Potter attractions, then well, actually, I'm sorry. It's supposed to be that Epic Universe is the response to all of this, and I don't think that there's a lot to respond to here.
Or as Bob Iger has said, this is the preemptive response to Epic Universe, right? With all of these attractions right here. He's suggesting that Pandora apparently was a preemptive strike on Epic Universe, and it's like, well, I remember when that deal was hashed out back in 2011, so I don't know how that quite lines up, especially when you consider the timeline of Epic Universe and how Comcast didn't even own the land that Epic Universe now sits on when that attraction was being established right there.
Yeah.
Well, Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway, good attraction. It's just the problem is it replaced the Great Movie Ride for so a lot of people kind of like, they have different views of that attraction. And you're right. If it's not broken
I always
outright,
get in trouble.
there are parts of it
I was not a fan of the Great Movie Ride, and I get it. It was a great ride in some ways. It wasn't for me, but I just don't see this as the great thing that's going to. My kids aren't going to the parks to see Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, where they're asking me what's going on with the new Harry Potter land, what's going on with How to Train Your Dragon. They really are mega interested in Super Nintendo World right now. And then, of course, Tron Light Cycle Run, which is an attraction that was built for Shanghai and literally just copied over to Tomorrowland at Walt Disney World. And they, for some reason, took 6 years to build it. Still don't understand that. So let's go to the Universal list here. There are some amazing attractions on here, and there are some duds. So let's first, before we get to Epic Universe, let's talk about what's been at Universal Orlando Resort. First of all, a second Harry Potter land, Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Diagon Alley. Harry Potter Escape from Gringotts. It's a great ride. Hogwarts Express. Hogwarts Express alone is a very simple ride. You have the screens on it, but for the most part, this is a drive train pulling a cable to bring the Hogwarts Express from one park to the other park, a very short distance. And there's some movies playing on the side. I'm not going to say it wasn't expensive to build, but this right here is the reason that people buy park to park tickets for Harry Potter World at Diagon Alley and Harry Potter World at Hogsmeade.
I think it's absolutely amazing to be quite honest with you. It's just the look, it's very simplistic, right? And we're not saying that it's really groundbreaking in terms of the technology being used here, but there is a brilliance to its simplicity, and there's a magic to it that is really hard to convey unless you've actually experienced it. I would say it's one of my favorite transportation types in all of Orlando. That is for sure. It's just awesome. I love that attraction. I think it's great. I was really blown away with it in a way that I wasn't expecting when I went.
Right, and I liked it, but it's also to the point where if I've got a large party, in my case, if I've got a family of 6, I'm not buying park-to-park tickets specifically for Hogwarts Express. If you get now, if you end up getting a deal on park-to-park tickets, which it's easy to find those, then okay, we'll do that, and we'll do Hogwarts Express several times a day. But if I'm talking about $80 more per ticket or something like ridiculous like that, I would rather just plan my day a little bit better and do a couple of walks from 2 parks that are incredibly close to each other. I mean, they could have made these one park if they wanted to. They didn't, and now they get to sell more tickets for it. Let's talk about what could be the greatest roller coaster in the Orlando area, though. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Motorbike Adventure. This is an amazing roller coaster here. Vash, did you get a chance to ride this?
Oh, yes, I absolutely did, both day and night. Same for Velocicoaster right here. And by the way, Velocicoaster, Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure, made by Intamin, and they're right next to each other, which is just mind-blowing because you could make an argument that Velocicoaster is better than Hagrid's and Hagrid's is better than Velocicoaster. They're both right there. It's awesome. It's so great. The audio animatronics involved right here, they're a little bit more simplistic than maybe the ones you're seeing at, like, I don't know, Tiana's Bayou Adventure. But I would say the same criticism is levied at those things, which is because Hagrid's is going so fast, these things don't necessarily need to be complex. Whereas Tiana's, especially for like Disneyland's Tiana's Bayou Adventure, I know the speed at which that flume moves might be too ornate for how fast you're going through there, but Hagrid just hits all the right notes. It is
also pointing out that those animatronics are next to a roller coaster that also changes tracks midway. That Devil's Snare bit that they do in there is amazing, and then you're right into a boost. It's an amazing roller coaster. I say that it might be the greatest roller coaster in the Orlando area because the one right underneath it, Velocicoaster, is the other contender for the greatest roller coaster in the Orlando area. So if you're going for thrill rides, no question to me whatsoever, you definitely go to Universal Orlando Resort. They have kids stuff there. They have Harry Potter, and a lot of kids love Harry Potter, but they also have thrill rides. This to me is not equal. You can list out things on the Walt Disney Company side and say, oh, well, technically we spend a lot of money on this, and so it's good. But when it comes down to it, they don't have anything there that my kids want to do. They would want to do it if they're in the park, but they would not. If I'm listing out all the things that are going on at Universal Orlando right now, I'm going to point this out. Villain Con Minion Blast. I am not impressed with that ride. But if I say the words Villain Con Minion Blast, my kids are going to want to do that more than they're going to want to do Alien Mayhem or Slinky Dog Dash. Maybe one of them might say Slinky Dog Dash.
Yeah, that's the thing. So Slinky Dog Dash, especially when you compare it to like Velocicoaster and Hagrid's, I mean, there's not even close. And people will say, "Well, that's an unfair opinion." Okay, well, Slinky Dog Dash is marketed to be a family coaster, and so is Hagrid's Magical Creature Motorbike Adventure. And I'm sorry, but Hagrid's is far superior, that's for sure. But remember that other list that we were referencing, folks? We were referencing stuff like, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration, Lightning McQueen's Racing Academy. Like you said, Jonas, the comparison, you just can't make it with some of these things right here. Velocicoaster, I mean, that's worth the price of admission to Islands of Adventure on its own, in my humble opinion. That coaster is so absolutely fantastic right there. It's a compelling value when you're in the Orlando market and you're looking for places to go.
Well, and this list doesn't include the refit of the Incredible Hulk coaster, which is another amazing roller coaster at Islands of Adventure. I'm trying to think, is that all of the coasters at Islands of Adventure? Because they're all fantastic.
Yeah. You can Harry Potter and Escape from Gringotts. You can include that one in there. Rip Ride Rocket, which might be replaced coming up here. But yeah, you're right. So Hulk
probably
was refit
yes.
in, refit in 2016.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll just point out, we're very realistic about what's going on at Universal Studios. If you've listened to me in this video, we're not just talking about Universal Studios being great. Universal Studios has a problem. I think they're fixing it with Minions Land. By the way, DreamWorks Land is still going here. They're building that. That's going to be premiering very soon, and that is something that kids are interested in. They're still delivering movies in those franchises, those long-standing franchises. There was a great quote from Eddie Sato in that Wall Street Journal piece, which, by the way, we're going to be talking about that Wall Street Journal piece on TPP Live very soon. But I want to point this out because it's a great quote. Devising new theme park attractions has historically been a multi-year process, says Eddie Sato, a former Imagineer, a member of the company's elite team of theme park designers who now consults with theme parks through his own design firm, which means I think that he also works for Universal on occasion. Probably some Knott's stuff. If you want to go check out Eddie Sato's Twitter, he talks about Knott's Berry Farm and some great stuff there. It's very difficult to take an intellectual property or movie and say, well, this movie just suddenly became a surprise hit, and now this ride needs to be there tomorrow, Sato said.
Right.
I think that's probably a good place to wrap up this conversation here. I see a lot of problems at Disney right now because they're trying to say, we have the hot new thing. We have an entire world that's dedicated to Frozen, when, okay, you have a Frozen attraction at Epcot, and that's probably what you need more than anything else. They say, oh, we have an entire Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Well, Star Tours, you need a little bit more than Star Tours. Maybe you need a single ride that brings people in, that ride is good, as opposed to saying the headline is this entire $1 billion expansion. I don't see this as being a great thing for Disney. Meanwhile, Epic Universe over here has Super Nintendo World, which people want to see the world, and they're excited about the rides. How to Train Your Dragon looks like it's a collection of a lot of fun rides and family coasters and attractions that will appeal to families. And they're going to have another Harry Potter. I'm completely ignoring in this conversation the fact that I don't know what's going to go on in Dark Universe over there in that top left corner of the park, but it could be great. Centennial Park looks great too. I don't see these things as being equal. Listing out the things that Disney has done over the last 10 years and listing out the things that Universal has done at the last 10 years, if I'm being very charitable to Disney, I'm going to say it nets out to zero. So Epic Universe is only a gain on top of that. This is not a proper response to Epic Universe. And Epic Universe is Universal making their mark in the theme park space in an even bigger way. The physical plant over there at Islands of Adventure, I went in the first few years that it was open. I thought, oh my goodness, this is so much better than Disney. But Disney has that special touch. Disney has lost that special touch. Vash, give us your comments before we wrap this thing up.
Well, past 10 years, look, Disney has had the same 6 parks that it's had for, 20 years or so? Universal has added two parks now with Epic Universe here coming up in 2025, and also too Volcano Bay Water Park. So that kind of tells you where they're at. Universal's catching up and quickly, and at the same time, Disney has kind of receded in terms of its quality level, its value, and a host of other issues that I think have made a offer like what Universal is offering attractive to a lot of people visiting the Orlando area. And I can see people kind of coming in there and going and looking at the value price options like at the Terra Luna and Stella Nova hotels and going, you know what, we're going to make our home base here. And really that's what whoever makes whoever is able to entice more visitors to their resort hotels and have them be the home base for that group gets the most profit. I mean, honestly, it's where the dollars are spent more often right there. So I think Universal strategy is a good one, and they're coming up on the heels real quick, as actually noted by Nelson Peltz in his white paper, interestingly enough. Doesn't seem Disney's prerogative right now, though.
Right. Well, Universal is hungrier, and Disney seems to be convinced that they can just say that something is popular and it'll be popular. But when the numbers bear out, they don't actually have what people want at these theme parks. Avatar, okay, that's great, but you have to do more than Avatar. Galaxy's Edge is not where it's at. Cosmic Rewind, that's great, but you could also argue that would be a great ride even if it didn't have the Guardians of the Galaxy theming in it. It's a great ride. It's kind of like Rock and Roller Coaster without it, though. All right, well, that being said, I think I've probably said something that offends the fans of Cosmic Rewind, so go ahead and let me know about that in the comment section down below. Have we been fair? Is there something we forgot? Because even between us and the articles that we were reading, I'm sure that we forgot one ride that is amazing, and you're now angry that you haven't commented it in the comment section down below. But of course, like this video if you like this video, or if you hated it, hit that dislike button. I mean, sometimes we deserve it, and it still helps with engagement. And of course, consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.